The Trump administration is issuing new sanctions on Iran's shadow fleet of oil vessels as the president sends Iran a stern warning. Listen.
We have an armada. We have a massive fleet heading in that direction, and maybe we won't have to use it. We'll see.
The U.S. is building up its military presence in the Middle East ahead of a possible attack, and more ships are expected to be on the way. Let's bring in Dr. Kanta Ahmed. She's a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum and member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Good morning, Kanta. Thanks for joining us. You know, as we see this build up and these sanctions being added, where do you see this heading?
We're days away from, I think, an extraordinary strike. We don't move these kinds of assets for a vanity project. We have now two nuclear-grade Nimitz-class carriers, one in the Gulf of Oman, one heading across the Atlantic, probably heading for the Mediterranean and the Suez. We also have tremendous presence in the region, as you know, and the Iranian regime is going to be struck. I think there are many targets that we could go after, but most likely the United States will target the repressive Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps that is responsible for murdering tens of thousands of people, even now, wounding, some say 330,000 people, removing their eyes, horrendous brutality. And this is going to be, they're going to have an answer for that imminently.
You know, Kanta, we've had Moj Madara, an Iranian American activist, on the show last weekend. I stayed in contact with her. She says the numbers of dead is in the tens of thousands. We don't have an exact one. And I also was following your headline in the piece from the Telegraph yesterday, where you're talking about the West's silence on Iran is the latest warning of Islamist growing power. Inside, you wrote, Iranians must endure a double tragedy, the crushing of their dreams by the regime and the shameful hypocrisy of Western progressives. And yet, you know, when you put the full context in this, Kanta, you have a whole generation who have known nothing but Islamic regime oppression.
Exactly. I was a small child in Iran right before the revolution. And so to see that this has continued almost 50 years is unacceptable. In this day and age, when we're so connected, there's a huge communications blackout on Iran precisely to prevent people from knowing what's going on. And our youth here also does not understand. This is a noble, civilized, ancient people. They have so much to contribute to the world, and their time for lifting their regime has come. They are doing that themselves, but the United States is going to assist by eliminating their repressive security and brutal besiege thugs and others. And I think also from the position of the carriers, we're going for economic warfare as well. We're going to be targeting Iran's capability of exporting oil. I think there's going to be many developments very soon.
And you know, Kanta, I want to pivot a little bit to this. This administration is really taking the gloves to ISIS, which is a growing presence, as we are now seeing. The U.S., though, says that they will no longer rely on Kurdish-led forces in the fight against ISIS, urging the Syrian government to take over the country's fight against the Islamic terrorist state. You know, what do you make of that?
Griff, this has been an absolute betrayal of the United States' most devoted allies, the Syrian Democratic Forces, the Kurdish forces. They gave 11,000 lives in the fight against ISIS so that Europe and the United States was not besieged by ISIS. And we've abandoned them. This has to be called upon with Senate hearings. We're now seeing the city of Kobani, which is on the border of Turkey, besieged. Children died last night. No electricity, no power. They're surrounded by al-Shara's Islamist jihadist forces. There's been a massacre, genocide on Yazidis, the people that were nearly erased by ISIS, all apparently okayed by Tom Barak, the U.S. Special Envoy. We need to listen to Senator Lindsey Graham. There needs to be Senate hearings on this. The United States must immediately impose a no-fly zone over northeast Syria, home to Christians, Yazidis, Kurds, and we cannot abandon these allies and allow Turkey to have its whim at eradicating these minorities. This is a disgrace.
And those Kurdish fighters are fierce. I watched them in 2016 taking on ISIS in Mosul. Kanta Ahmed, great insight as always. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure, Greg.
All right.